Hello my gorgeous makeup loving friends. Yes, I know I look like I've been dragged backward through a bush, but quite frankly, that's just fashion, and one day you'll understand my aesthetic. Anyways, if you have been watching my channel, you might have noticed recently that I had a glossgods calendar unboxing of their advent calendar, and one of the things that came to it was, for the moment, this exclusive palette. I say for the moment because I assume they're eventually going to pop it onto their website. This is the Starry Skies palette, and yes, on the video I did swatch it on my face because I was overly excited, but swatching Sundays is a lot more thorough than that. I take a palette and I swatch it and look at it through lots of different lighting conditions so that we can see how the mattes perform and how the shimmers might sparkle. The second part is then looking at how they blend, how they work with various brushes, and how they look with a base and kind of layered on top of each other. That's a little bit more indicative of how that might actually perform and operate on the eye. So if that sounds like something you are interested in, that's what the whole video is about. I will say, however, I am an affiliate with the brand. You can use my code Teresa for money off. However, I do feel that videos like Swatching Sundays are quite unbiased because you can't lie about a swatch. It's there, you can see it with your eyeballs, so hopefully it might give you some indication as to whether or not this might be a palette for you moving forward. So my gorgeous friends, that is the rest of the video. Do please keep on watching. I know that I've already swatched this on my face, but frankly, I wanted to see this under different lighting conditions, so bear with me. I'm going to do what I usually do, build them up to full opacity, but let's get into it. As per usual when it comes to glossgods, those shimmers, those duochromes, they are so gorgeous. This is a purple, sort of a lilac to blue shift. This is a gold to pink shift, and this matte, oh my god, so smooth. Really, really beautiful. Now I know glossgods tends to be known for their shimmers, but I don't think we should really be discounting the mattes. Their mattes are pretty darn good. So we have Frosty, Black Ice, Starlit, and Frigid. Obviously, I'll build these up to full opacity so that we can see what they look like. I genuinely cannot get over how fabulously soft and smooth those mattes are. I think that's the nicest matte formula that I can think of. It reminds me a little bit of Girl Cult's mattes, which I think they're some of the best mattes on the market. So this, oh, this has got me. We have Freezing, Eclipse. See, they're quite light, but they're buildable. North Star and Starry Night. I will say that once I got to this black matte, there's definitely a slight difference here. I think it's because there's a little bit of shimmer in this, so it's not as smooth as the other mattes, probably because this isn't a true matte. You can see there's a little bit of sparkle in it. This shade Polaris, beautiful. I love a deep blue shimmer. So we have Polaris. Woo, that packs quite a punch. Ice Pillar, Chili, and the black is Midnight Hour. And as you can see, there's a little bit of shimmer in it, so I will have to build that one up. And we're on to our final three. I forgot with this one, even though I swatched it before. This is the shade Stargazing. It is so soft in the pan, like super, super soft. So keep that in mind. Like, you're gonna have to go into that very, very lightly. We have Skyline, Bleak, and Stargazing. And there we go, I have shimmer all over myself, but you know what? It's okay, 'tis the season to look like a twilight vampire. And oh my goodness, that is stunning. As you guys know who've watched this for quite some time, you will know that I have a ring light at a 90-degree angle and I have two box lights on. I have cut off all other sources of light from outside because I have blackout curtains. Don't mean to brag, but this gives you an idea of what it would look like when there's a decent amount of light. And you can still see those shimmers are pretty nice, but the mattes, ooh, they're really damn good. They're really, really good. What I'm going to do now is add in an extra light because, well, quite frankly, it's my channel. I like to see what the story is. So I'm going to add in another overhead light now just to see what that looks like. So the overhead light is on. As I have told you guys before a couple of times, that overhead light is a lot more yellow in tone, so that does kind of impact the way that these might be perceived. However, I still think those mattes are really, really shining out there. Obviously the shimmers, not so much, but that's because there's a lot of light. So we do see there is a good amount of buildability with these mattes. Oh, this is so my kind of a colour story right now. But I'm going to start taking away the lights now so that we can appreciate the sparkles. And the ring light is at a 90-degree angle right now, and that's all that I have on right now. Those shimmers, I mean, you can see some of them have a very transparent base, particularly the ones up here. And I think they're very much of note. These are the sort of shimmers that I really like playing with because I feel like you get something quite interesting from them. The total change in formula with this one is what gets me because that, like, I forgot, even though I'd swatched it already, just how soft it was. Like, you can almost see it's made a dent in the pan, so I can see myself kind of hitting pan with that, not out of necessarily frequent use, but because of its general formulation. But at least because they've done it so that you could buy singles, that means I could end up replenishing that, which I do appreciate. But you know the general drill. This is my next favourite part, so I'm going to turn off all the lights now and just have it so that there is the light from the torch on my phone and we can appreciate the shimmers there. Oh my God, look at the sparkle. That's absolutely, I think this might be the sparkliest palette that they've ever done. Look at how gorgeous that is. Oh my goodness. I'm actually, oh shit, that looks so good. Okay, I'm going to move around the light so that we can appreciate that a little bit more. But look at how gorgeous it is. And let's get you extra close so that you can see that. I mean, the cool toned grey nature of this, I think, is so fabulous. Do we have a lot of things like this on the market? Yes, we do. But look at those shimmers. And I know not everyone is a magpie like me, but you know what? Let me enjoy being a magpie, because sometimes that's just what you need in your life. Oh, I'm really messing around, by the way, with where I'm putting the light. As you guys know, this is on a Canon, so that will also impact the way that these things look. So I am also going to change this to my iPhone so you can get a kind of a depiction as to what that looks like as well. You can see I'm really messing with where the light is. Oh, but let's just bring you in again so that you can really see how stunning they are. That is just annoyingly gorgeous. Or is it just me? I think that's beautiful. But I'm going to shift over now to the iPhone so you can see what that looks like. So now we're over on an iPhone, and I mean, look at how gorgeous and cool toned and grungy this is. Oh, I don't want to be like a freak about this, but I feel like getting the advent calendar for this was worth it. Look. Oh my God, this is so me. Look at that shade Polaris, that blue. Now I know that not everyone loves cool toned palettes, Sheila. I'm thinking about you. I know you love a warm toned palette. But I am just a hoe for cool tones. I really feel like they suit me. And I mean the shimmers off of these. I don't know when they're going to make this one be like a purchase alone palette. I hope they do it soon because I think this is just one of their strongest ones. My God, this is beautiful. I love the grayscale of this. It looks like I'm looking at like an old Hollywood movie. I love this. I'm going to start messing around obviously a little bit more with a couple of different sort of lighting scenarios and see what that looks like. So we are now in a low lighting situation. I'm just in my hallway and I don't have direct light coming except from the front hall. And as you can see, I mean, there isn't a lot there. But my God, like even here, you're seeing the sparkles. Jesus Christ, I'm really in love with that top one there. The kind of a purpley bluey one. I think that is so gorgeous. But it looks really nice. By the way, if you hear sounds in the background, that's because I have like clocks and stuff on, or not clocks, but lights on a timer. But that looks so gorgeous. I'm going to switch back over to a Canon now so you can see what the story is there. So we're now in my kitchen. There's no lights on. There's no kind of direct light. If you hear water in the background, that's the cat's water fountains. That's right. In an effort to try to trick them to drink their water, I have given them a water fountain. The kittens are currently asleep. They have been absolutely demolishing the sitting room, having a wonderful time. Cece's livid, Darcy's terrified. It's a whole thing, but look at how fabulous this looks, even in this light. This is how a lot of us would be wearing this, and it is still just so impactful. I love this. I'm going to go over now to the window so that we can see what it looks like with some indirect light. So I'm at the window now, and I'm going to point out that we don't really have much daylight or sunlight. A bit of daylight, but not much. I want to point out something that is in no way relevant to this, but I did buy the kittens a cat bed. Are they using it? No, they've gone into a basket of my fucking crochet. I'm like, I bought you an actual little cat bed, and they're like, no. We sit in your wool, much more comfortable. So I thought you guys would like to know that. But this is looking very nice in direct light as well, very sexy. But let's go outside, and I think Darcy is still outside because he's having a bit of a sulk. He's not impressed with having little sisters that he's actually terrified of. It's really funny. And I did say that the kittens elected to go into a bloody bag of crochet rather than the bed I bought them. That's them. Aren't they so cute? The kind of tabby one is called Holly, and the white one is called Merida, or Mary, because she's the brave one. But let's go outside now. As expected, Darcy came running inside. I won't be staying outside for very long. We don't have a lot of sunlight or daylight, and also it's the very end of October, so it is quite cold, and I'm in a t-shirt, so I have not thought through my life choices, and yet the flowers are still there, so I guess it is what it is. Now, I will say it isn't like wildly amazing out in the direct light, but that's probably because we don't have a lot of sunlight. But that's what it looks like on the Canon, and I'm going to switch over to my iPhone just so that you can see what it looks like there. And we're over on the phone now, and again, you're not seeing like anything amazing here, just due to the lack of light. I will say this is quite indicative of how it actually looks to the naked eye, if you're interested in seeing this. But I think it's so beautiful. I cannot wait to shove this onto my eyelids. But obviously the next section is all about seeing how these might blend and work with each other. So I'll be really interested to see what the story is there. All right, friends, so I have put on my primer. It's my MAC Sink to a Whisper. It's my favorite one for using, and quite frankly, I like being consistent when doing this. So I'm going to start testing out how these work with brushes just to see what the story is. My personal favorite thing to do is to start from light and going into dark. So I want to see what the story is there. I'm going to use a kind of a variety of brushes as well. I'm using a Jessup 223 and I'm going into the shade Chili. And I want to see how this is potentially showing up here. Now it's a very, very pale, kind of almost off-white, but with a smidgen of blue, and I want to see how well that can actually show up here. And I feel like it is being captured to quite an extent. Obviously, this is going to really help things if you have a white base on here, but you can see kind of the difference there versus there. It's a lot more kind of pale blue toned over here, but it's a very, very subtle shade. Now I'm getting a lot of fallout here. Part of that is I didn't tap it off. You could see I didn't tap that off. I just want to see what this looks like as we're working with it. But you are getting a decent level of pigment here. But my next big question is, what's this going to look like when I start adding in different colours? I'm using a BH Cosmetics brush, and I'm going into the shade Freezing, which is a slightly deeper colour, and I'm going to pat that on there just towards the side to see what the story is there. Are they going to blend in with each other? And it looks like they do, and I'm really appreciative of this because this is more of a packing brush than necessarily a blending brush. So the fact that this is kind of coming up without any major issue already is quite nice. Again, we do see a bit of fallout, but that's because I wasn't tapping off my brush, as you can see. And that's kind of not really the purpose of what we're looking at here. But you can see really nice gradual fade out there, which I appreciate. I am going to be very, very cruel, and I'm going to go in with the black now. I'm using an Artitude Cosmetics brush, which isn't what I'd normally use for that, but we'll see what the story is. And I'm just going to very gently pat that on and see how well that'll actually blend. Because blacks are very difficult. This isn't normally the brush I would use for that, so I'm being very, very unkind. But I want to see, because this is obviously not a complete matte either. There's little bits and flecks of glitter in this. Very, very small particles, but like you can actually feel it when you swatch it, just how different the formula is on this one. I would say this isn't blending quite as wonderfully as I would necessarily want, but it's because I wouldn't normally use a brush like this. I'm just wanting to see what the story is here. And it does seem like it's okay. It's not a bad one. My favourite for blending blacks, I actually have a favourite brush for blending blacks. Don't even come to me about it. It's a Zoeva. I think it's a 232, something like that. I use that all the time for blacks. I don't know why. It's just a preferred one for me. What I'm going to do now is take the same brush and go back into freezing and see if I can get the two to blend a little bit better. And that is really doing the trick right there. So it's a nice, easy blend, nothing major. I'm going to take the two onto the same brush because fuck it, why not? We have but one life. Let us enjoy it. Is this a bit chaotic? Yeah, but sure, whatever. One life to lead, etc., etc. The black definitely is quite pigmented. So just trying to get it all to tone in is a little bit tricky, but not too bad. I feel like if you're a better blender than me, you could probably get it to work. I'm just horrendously impatient, as you guys know. And part of why I like to try light to dark is to try to figure out if there is a way that this might work out a little bit better, you know? So that brings me on to trying it from dark to light. And I'm going to go in with that black again, but I'm going to use an Artitude brush again, actually a different Artitude one. And I'm going back into that black Midnight Hour. And I'm just going to stamp that in first, just very lightly. Probably not going in quite as much as I was with the previous one, but sure, look, we're living, we're learning, we're figuring out what the story is here. But you can see it is at least blending out, like I'm getting different levels of pigment with it, which is good. I appreciate that. So that's looking pretty good. And you can actually see the shimmer on that a little bit more than in the previous example. I am now going to use this Morphe brush. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to go into a different shade this time. Yes, I'm going to go into the shade Frigid, and I'm going to pop that there and see how do they blend into each other. Okay, so it does seem that this palette works a little bit better if you start off with a dark and blend towards the light. Just as an FYI, in case anyone was wondering, it does seem to work a little bit better that way. Hooray! Okay, this is good to know. I'm pleased with that. And I'm being cruel yet again because I want to go with a completely different colour just to see what the story is, because I've been going with stuff that's, you know, quite logically similar to each other. I'm going in with the Zoeva 224 and I'm going into the shade Bleak. And I want to see how that one meshes, because that is quite tonally different to the others. Just to see, how does it blend? Because we're talking about, I mean, it is still quite cool toned, but it's a different colour. And it does seem to actually blend quite nicely. So with this palette, you're better off probably going from dark to light. It seems to work a little bit better. I mean, I still feel like it works well, but just, you know, it's helpful to know these things. I'm now going to use this Real Techniques brush, and I want to see what one have I not tried? I've tried, because there's not that many mattes. I've tried Frigid, I've tried Freezing. Have I tried Eclipse? I'll try Eclipse. Yeah, we'll go into Eclipse. And I'm just going to smash that there. Smash! There we go. And I'm just going to pop that there. Oh my goodness, I did actually go a little bit heavy into that. But I think at this point, I've tried all of the mattes. That one is super pigmented. Jesus Christ. I did go way too heavy into that. But sure, look, we live, we learn, we don't freak out about it. It's not a big deal. I'm going to use a BH Cosmetics one, and I'm going to go into Bleak again, just to see what that one looks like. If I just pat that there. Tippity tap. Not necessarily seeing how it'll blend, but just see, can I get a lot of pigment with it? And it looks like I can. Again, being very unfair because I'm not tapping off product. That's not normally how I'd use these things. But we're just pissing about and seeing what the story is. And I'm just going in with a Cosmic Brushes brush, just with that shade Bleak, to see if I can blend it across the two. And to be fair, they're not very tonally similar colours, so I wouldn't expect like a massive, massive blend. But it's not bad. It is not bad. Like, I'm not unhappy with that. I'm going to use a Spectrum B07, and I'm just going to pop in that Midnight Hour again. There's not a lot of mattes in this. Not a lot. So I'm just going to pop that there, really swish it. See how much we can get that to kind of fade out. Again, you know, this is not a perfect way of doing things, but it's just to give you a general idea. And I'm going in with that Jessup 223 and back into that shade Chili, just to see the contrast there. And you can see it is actually like giving quite a decent punch onto that. And actually, Jesus, look at that covering over this. I just want to see what the story is. Can I lighten that with that? This is just sheer tomfoolery, just to see what the story is. And also the fallout is mental. But that is not the purpose of this. But you can see, actually, you can fade that out. So I think that's quite interesting. Right, the next big thing is obviously to see how these shimmers perform. And for me, that's where Gloss Gods generally does pretty darn well. So I'm going to take the shade Frosty, because that has like a sort of a purple base. And I'm going to pop that on here to see what the story is. But I also want to see it on here, because this leans like slightly different in terms of the color stories, and I just want to see how different they'll be when you do it that way. I am also going to take Starry Night here and just tap that along there, just to give a little bit more depth. And what'll I do? Sorry, I'm just like, ooh, what am I doing? This is, ooh, I'm gonna go into Ice Pillar. And I'm going to put that there. I think I've gotten myself a little bit like overexcited is what I want us to remember here. So I'm going to pop that there, and I'm going to take a bit of North Star here and just pop that there. It's a very nice icy toned shade. And I can't help it. I'm going to go into Starlit because I think that one is really beautiful. And I want to pop a little bit of that there, and maybe a little bit of Starlight or Starlit here as well, just to see what the story is. And Polaris, I mean, I have to use that. Well, I don't, but just want to see what that looks like there when I tap it on. And I'm going to use a tiny bit of Stargazing, because a little goes a long way with that one, and just tap that there. I feel like have I tried most of them? I'll put a little bit of Skyline just here as well, just to see what that mix is like, which I know it looks chaotic, but that's where we blend. So I'm just going to take this Cosmic Brushes brush and just gently sweep across here to have those two shimmers sort of blend and see what the story is there. Have I forgotten which ones I put on? Yes, I absolutely have. But it's fine. I think it was Frosty. I'll put a bit more here because I can. It's my channel and I can do what I like within reason. Yeah, that looks really pretty. I'm going to take this Artitude brush now and I'm just going to sweep here where I think I had, Ice Pillar and a bit of Skyline and just see what the story is there when they're on top. Again, just note there's a lot of fallout, so you might want to consider doing your eyes before you do your base. That's how I typically do my makeup, so it's not like a massive issue to me. Like, I don't care. And then I'm taking another Artitude brush and I'm going to take a little bit more of that shade Frosty because that's what I had put there and just twirl that around. Ooh, that is a really interesting shade. But I'd also taken a little bit of Starlight and put it there as well. So I want to see what that looks like. And finally, I'm just going to blend these shades down here with a Spectrum brush to see what the story is. I know I took a little bit of Starlight and put that down there. So there we go. Right, I have a lot of lights on right now. That obviously impacts the way that these look. So I'm going to turn those off and see what it looks like. This is how I'd kind of wear eyeshadow. It's a little bit more indicative of how I would generally put this on. Okay, so I'm doing what I normally do. I have the torchlight from my phone. Look at the shimmers that's coming up there. Ooh. That is looking really pretty. Like, and that's how that would look if you did it on your eye. And that was very like all over the place. There wasn't any like major whatever to it, but I think you can see kind of the potential of where this palette can go, which is helpful, or at least I'm hoping it's helpful. It mightn't be. Maybe you're sitting there being like, Teresa, this is a pile of bullshit. You're honestly totally entitled to that opinion. This is what I do on a Saturday, apparently, while the kittens are asleep. To be fair, I've only had the kittens for like 24 hours, so I can't be like, oh my god, I do this every Saturday and add in the kittens. But yeah, this is looking so gorgeous. Like, you can really see the sparkle there, and this is more indicative of how a lot of us would wear it on the eyes than necessarily those swatches. But this is on a Canon. That's only going to give you so much information. I'm going to switch over to my phone camera so that you can also see what the story is there. But look at those sparkles. Ooh, so beautiful. I feel like this isn't entirely capturing it, but you can see the sparkle to a decent extent here, but it looks way more shimmery in person. But hopefully you can kind of see the potential of what you could do here. And yes, I did mix around a lot of things, but it's just for sheer to see how it fucking works. You know, these are not eye looks, but it's to give you an idea as to how this might function if you were using it. And I think it's actually, there's a nice level of sparkle here. I like it. This is my kind of jam. Ooh, so sparkly. I'm going to be weird and zoom in. So sparkly. I can see that with that shade, is it Frosty? I'm going to end up going a little bit mental on that because that is really, really beautiful. And there we go. That's the whole thing. Is it annoyingly thorough? Probably. Initially, when I was looking at this, I did think that maybe two of the mattes were a little bit too similar to each other, specifically Frigid and Eclipse. But I can actually see when I had them on, I was so glad that I was able to swatch them, that there is a little bit more of a deeper base with this particular one. There's a lot more shimmers in this, which is part of what I'd expect with Gloss Gods. That's kind of their whole thing. However, the mattes, Jesus Christ. I also appreciate the fact that now we can take out the pans. That's not something that I'm personally that bothered about because I like kind of keeping a palette as it is, but I know that quite a few of you like to build a palette, to curate it. I really like this. I do. It's my kind of a colour story. I do feel like I'll pop in with this and some other things, like their singles that they also used or came out with as part of their advent calendar. Let me know if you want to do a Swatching Sundays with that. But I think this is really nice. The shimmers are gorgeous. All I can say is I think I have an idea as to what I'll be wearing to my Christmas party this year. And that's probably this. But anyways, my gorgeous friends, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Do please like, comment and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell because it's polite, and do please share because sharing is caring, except of course for STDs, in which case just wrap it up. Don't be gross. But that's it. That's the end of this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm off to play with some kittens. Bye.